Oh, let's see. They don't want to cooperate. Hi, everybody. I normally don't have a countdown clock, but for some reason, this thing doesn't want to play my intro video. I'm going to try it one more time because you know what? Okay. I don't know. I'll figure it out later. One of those things that's like, oh, really? Okay, that's what's going to happen. Okay, all right. Yeah, it's you know what? We're at the mercy of the computers, whatever the AI, who God knows. Anyway, guys, everything over here is good. You know, same old, hot, hot. Weird weather around the world, around the United States. What was it yesterday? There was a threat. I haven't followed up on it, of a tsunami slash earthquake off by the coast of Alaska. And it's like, what? And I've been hearing, believe it or not, I do follow some of the earthquake because there's different people that track this stuff, you know. And I'm talking, this was like a 7.3 magnitude. That's not a little tremor. That's pretty. In a tsunami, I believe that the what I heard was that they told people along the coastal area of Kodiak and I want to say Sandpoint that they had to leave and go to higher ground because I think, the water was receding, which is like, okay, when it comes back, I haven't followed up on that. But yeah, weird weather, weird, I'll tell you what, everybody says, oh, you're crazy because in Florida you deal with hurricanes. I'd rather deal with a hurricane anytime over than an earthquake. You know what? In a hurricane, you track it, you can see it coming, you can prepare your home, or leave, board everything up and leave, whatever. But you got time to do something. On an earthquake, God, that's scary. Mm. But anyway, I was sharing with you guys on and off some different interesting news, as it's coming in. And I want to show you guys this, okay? Which is like really this is what you call it, a um basically it's Area 51 is on fire. How's that? Um and from what I'm seeing is they don't know, I guess, what would happen if Area 51, I don't know, because remember, this is a huge fire. This was, I'll tell you what, this is dated from yesterday. Okay. Like I said, I haven't had a chance to follow up. Area 51 at risk as huge fire creeps closer to base with black smoke filling air, sparking wild UFO conspiracy theories. A shocking surveillance shows the fire burning close to the base. All right. Let me tell you something. These fires are, and this is what they call a massive fire. All right. Um, and they're saying conspiracy theorists fear historic evidence could be destroyed. Dramatic images have captured plumes of smoke erupting outside the remote Air Force Base north of Las Vegas. As you could tell for those of you watching the video, it's pretty massive as far as the smoke goes. And the dangerous, it's called the Gothic Fire, has been burning through Nevada for days. And the Bureau of Land Management, which is managing the incident, said it wasn't contained as of Monday. The blaze was sparked by a lightning strike that lit up trees in Clark County, just 45 minutes north of Las Vegas. And that happened back in July 4th. Wow. And it swelled from 9,000 acres to 35,000 acres. Uh, and as a matter of fact, and it's burning on the Nevada Test and Training Range withdrawn lands, which are used for nuclear testing. Ooh. And then this haze, it's wafted all the way down to Las Vegas. No one's in danger of being evacuated, but that must be really healthy. And again, Area 51 lies just north of the burning blaze. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, the camera is overlooking the Area 51 perimeter because, of course, nobody's allowed on there. This is how they're kind of getting an assessment. Um, Data released by the Nevada Interagency Fire Center says the wildfire is burning just 15 miles away from the facility. All right. Now, they call this a conspiracy theories that rattled off baseless claims about the federal government potentially using the blaze to cover up secrets. Okay, and now is it cover up secrets or is it gonna destroy stuff? Um, One theorist guessed that sensitive contexts could be hiding inside the facilities that need to be buried in the flames. Others fear that aliens could have attacked to reclaim evidence, exposing life outside Earth without providing any proof to back their conspiracies. That's why it's a conspiracy. It's like that doesn't mean it's not possible. Um, Meanwhile, there's no unexplained activity on Sunday. Official affairs has been able to spread quickly because of high temperatures, low humidity, and windy weather. Yes, and as a person who sets, like I have burn piles here um on my property. Yeah, the what does the trick, believe it or not, is the wind. You got wind, and your fire will take off. Um, Little is known about what's inside Area 51. It's a highly classified base used to develop and test experimental aircraft. All right. And then, of course, when I spoke about this last week, as a matter of fact, that however, in June, a bombshell report was released that claimed the Pentagon stoked UFO rumors as a distraction while it actually spent time building dangerous weapons. Remember that I said that thing that now they were saying, hey, we made up all the UFO stories so that, in other words, we're making it up. Plus, we're also saying it was like, no, it's not that, just to cover as a cover story for, I guess, experimental aircraft or weapons. Um, a U.S. Air Force colonel started the rumors by visiting a bar near Area 51 and dropping off doctored photos of flying saucers that were eventually pinned to the walls, according to the Wall Street Journal's review of the 2024 Department of Defense report. In the report, the Pentagon also said that over the last 80 years, there has been no solid evidence of aliens or recovered alien technology. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, now, and we have the perfect person today as a guest to discuss this. We're going to fight because, like sometimes we hear so many versions of what it could be. After a while, you become a little bit cynical and you want to believe, but then you don't want to believe because you're getting so many, versions of, no, it's this, no, it's not that. But anyway, let me tell you about the guest today. His name is Tom Conwell. He's a ufologist. He's been an electronic technician with the US Navy and Honeywell for 42 years. Um, he is a Honeywell temperature control fire alarm and security software specialist, biomedical engineer, a fire alarm level 2 certified, a meteorologist, and an HVAC engineering resource. He has wide-ranging expertise with a keen awareness of physics, computer, and internet software, and a broad knowledge of electronics and how it intersects with the paranormal world and UFOs. Tom studies databases as a forensic pattern researcher. Over the past 3 years, he's written 3 volumes of a book series. They are here, volumes 1, 2, and 3, and self-published a collection of blogs going interstellar. He studied and researched UFO sighting reports from the U.S. East Coast to Central U.S. and the Western U.S., and given speeches about each of these subjects. Tom has assembled a map of UFO sightings, which has revealed many anomalies and is now an integral part of his research studies. His next book will be about what UFO sightings reveal about their technologies and should be completed. I'm going to ask him about this if it's been, but help me welcome him. How are you doing today, Tom? Oh, let me unmute you. That would help. There we go. Yes, how are you doing?
Oh, okay. Yeah,
So
quite
what do you
good.
think what do you think about that story about Area 51? Do you think it's just a fire, that's it?
Yeah, just a brush fire.
Okay.
I don't think it's going to harm anything because they wouldn't be dumb enough to build things right out in a hangar somewhere without
Mhm.
fire protection and sprinklers and all kinds of. It is almost zero chance that anything will be affected there. Plus, a huge portion of the research is done underground, and
Mm-hmm.
of course, that won't have any effect on the
Right.
underground areas unless they had um, a uh, a brush fire that swept over top of where their air intakes were. And then
Okay.
they may have to do something like evacuate the beneath ground,
Mm-hmm.
but it wouldn't harm anything. They just have to get people out of there
Right.
until the air cleared up.
I'm thinking that if, and this is the thing, because I think sometimes, myself included, sometimes we think of these places being out in the desert, like, what is there to burn out there? We always think of forest fires as in the middle of the forest. So I don't know
Yeah,
what the topography is out there, but obviously there's something there to burn.
yeah. There's a lot of brush,
Okay.
a lot of
Okay.
brush, um, um, low, low, grassy
Mm-hmm.
areas, and that's where some of the tumbleweed gets created out
Yes.
there in the
Right.
in the
Yes.
mo- and those of course can um, get set on fire, and of course with the wind, which you mentioned before,
Mm-hmm.
the tumbleweed will take off along with the sparks and everything else, and create a larger fire. So
Right. Right. Exactly. And then I'm thinking, you always have to think, and like I was saying, sometimes you don't know which way to swing as far as if whether it's alien technology or whatever, or even our own technology. I'm thinking to myself, I'm sure they're pretty careful about that stuff. Unless then you go in the direction they we're going to use this as a cover for getting rid of evidence. Like, that's pretty extreme. All you have to do is move it. I mean, there's nobody there because from what I understand, they have a big perimeter that you get arrested if you go on like a certain perimeter. You go on the
yeah,
base somewhere.
they're very careful. They don't let you anywhere near anything.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, Tom, how did you get involved to begin with in the ufology field?
Well, I've always been interested in UFOs,
Hmm.
and this just sort of came to me. It was a stroke of luck. I was with a paranormal team, and we were doing ghost hunting and things along those lines. And they wanted to um, ed, expand into um, looking into UFOs. Um,
Okay.
they were already into Bigfoot,
Hmm.
and their ghost work. So when I heard that they were wanting to get into UFOs, and I've always had an interest in that regard, my hand went right up. Hey, call on me. I'll do it.
Okay.
Um, and one of the first things I did is I started writing blogs
Okay.
um, about um, um, how we could go to the remote planets and visit them. Not so
Okay.
much how they come to us. What kind of
Okay.
problems would we have to solve? It's pretty involved. There's a whole lot of things that have to happen in order for us to go there. Uh,
Hmm.
and so that's
May I ask, do you think
that's
that it's it like is it because this is of course is a you always think of the travel like in light years would be so far that we couldn't unless we found another way of I mean I've heard of wormholes or intradimensionals, which is another theory I've heard as far as interstellar travel. What did you come across as far as, let's say, just getting off the out of the Earth's atmosphere, like to wherever we were going?
okay. I looked first of all into being able to accelerate
Mm-hmm.
closer to the speed of light, so it would
Right.
cut down on our travel time.
Okay.
Um, when we did that, there was still huge amounts of time involved with us
Right.
being in space, exposing ourselves to um, gamma rays and a whole bunch of interstellar crap that goes right through you. Um, that would be a bad choice because
Okay.
our bodies aren't made for that.
Right.
Um, Chances are we wouldn't even make it to our destination.
Sure.
Then I looked into the possibility of a wormhole,
Mm-hmm.
um, and that was written about by Einstein and Rosen. And is it possible? Yeah. The only way I can see that we could do it is to be able to have a huge, and I do mean huge, amount of energy available to open up the wormhole. We
Okay.
haven't solved that problem yet. We aren't even close.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
so then the other possibility is, could we jump into a different dimension
Mm-hmm.
and just will ourselves somewhere?
Right.
Is that possible? Well, I think that's the most likely at this point. Um, um, it's it's pretty difficult to solve the problems that are necessary to for us to do anything physically. Would have to do it, well, almost spiritually.
Right. Because I'm thinking, because even that wormhole theory, like, how do you know where you're going to, if you can not only open it where you're at, but you end up where you want to go to?
Yeah.
You know,
Oh yeah.
if you ever figured that out, it's like, wow, who got, God knows where you would end up at. That's so it's basically being able to control both points.
Yep. Yep. And that would mean that you have solved an awful lot of problems that
Oh
we
yeah.
aren't even close to solving yet.
Sure. Right. And that's the thing that you're thinking, okay. Now let me ask you, let's put it in reverse. Because I've heard of this theory also that are there are there aliens that have been able to figure that out of how to do space travel? Let's say
Um,
outside of our solar system, for example.
Absolutely. And there are, I would estimate somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 different civilizations represented
Wow.
that are um, close to our planet right now,
Okay.
and they're waiting for a big event, um, and that is a jump of the human population into 5D. When that happens,
Mm-hmm.
then or just prior to that, they
Okay.
will announce themselves, and we'll know all too well what's out there. And
Do you think their intentions are friendly?
yes, absolutely.
Okay. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Is it possible that there is a civilization somewhere um, that means us harm? Well, yeah, it's possible, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that that is very common
Okay.
because once people reach the level that they are now, um, they don't tend to remain harmful to another species. They uh, they basically want to open their arms and understand them and appreciate them and help them.
Okay. So they've have in other words, they've been have they been around for a long time and they've just been waiting for us to achieve that level?
Uh,
Or
Several civilizations have been around for a long time. Some of them have tinkered with our DNA.
okay.
Um, Others have just kind of watched us, and whenever we did something particularly stupid, they
That's a
were
lot.
there to negate it.
Okay, so another and I guess my question is, I'm going to use a Star Trek reference. Did they participate or were they like, the prime directive?
Yeah.
Leave them alone and let them figure it out at their own pace. And then when they get there, we'll step in. But otherwise it's hands off, you know.
I firmly believe that that prime directive is in play.
Okay.
They don't want to force us to do something that we don't want to do collectively as a race.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So in other words, they're going to let us like well, for lack of a better word, figure it out at our own pace.
Yep.
And let me ask you, what is that going to look like, do you think? Is it going to be like, a now you can join our group because you've reached this level of understanding? Or what do you think is going to come after that?
Ooh. Well, um, I believe that they will announce themselves to us prior to anything big happening other than
Okay.
that. That will be one of the first events. They're going to
Mm-hmm.
say they're going to show themselves in a parade of ships across the sky, and say, "Here we are," and then start slowly introducing themselves to us. Some of them are uh, would have some problems lowering their own vibration from the fifth
Mm-hmm.
dimension down to the third dimension where we are,
Okay.
and would probably wait for us to be able to increase our vibration so we can join them. But a lot of them are able to lower themselves to our vibration, and
Okay.
they will be the ones who will make contact first.
Right. And I imagine this will be in an undeniable way. You know, one of those things where we're gonna do the disclosure. We're not gonna wait for somebody else. We're gonna do show you guys something that there's no way to say, oh, you know. In other words, if there's a controversy, it is what it is. Bes- I can imagine because sometimes, you see some versions of total ET UFO disclosure where you see panic in the streets because in other words, it's there. But a lot of those times, those are usually invasion movies. But I always wonder how we would handle that moment when we saw something that it's like, no, it wasn't somebody saying a story or somebody took a fuzzy picture or something like that. How do you think that would go?
Okay. Many years ago, that would have been a problem.
Right.
I think it would be less of a problem now, and
Hmm.
in the next few years, even far less of a problem then. And
Okay.
we are more or less getting ready, and um, everyone is getting used to the idea that we aren't alone.
Right.
People in government are saying it, and the military is saying it, and it's going to be a fairly seamless transition, although it will be incredibly exciting.
I, you
Uh,
know what? But I can always, how's this? I think there's personalities, Tom, that even if you talk about UFOs, it's always just a theory, or a movie theme. And, but it's not part of the real world. How's that?
hmm.
And that when something actually is seen, like that's what I'm saying, it's there. It cannot be denied. It can't be explained. That I think a lot of people are going to do a little bit of a wig out, maybe temporarily, but it'll be like, wait a minute, what do you mean this is for real? Because I guess at the same time we've seen it since the '50s, so many flying saucer movies,
Yeah,
and then to have it actually materialize,
yeah. Um, there will be a lot of people who are overexcited, and
that's a good way
initially
of putting it.
far too overexcited than they should be, and they'll
Yeah.
realize that, and you know, there may even be ships that will um, show themselves to us, but they won't show the occupants. They'll take the ship and hang it out over the coastline and just
Mm-hmm.
sit there for who knows how long
Okay.
until we drive by and look at them, and well, there they are, and not even think twice about it. Um, so they'll do their due diligence and get us used to them
Right.
um, rather quickly. It won't take long because we already know in our hearts what's going on.
Okay. Let me ask you, what in your research, what proof that you have come across personally? Is there anything that for you was like, wow, if nobody knows about this, but I know about this, this is actual proof that UFOs slash extraterrestrials actually do exist.
Okay, well, several events that have. happened to me.
Hmm.
One of them was in my dreams. I actually dreamed about it. Well,
Okay.
that's not proof, obviously,
Hmm.
but it was sure real to me. Um,
Okay.
so, and then there was another event where someone came into my room at somewhere in the middle of the night
Hmm.
and reached out and made me levitate off my bed, and I felt my body go up.
Wow.
And then the next thing I remember is waking up in bed. Um,
Wow.
Now, was that real? It was in the middle of the night. I can't prove it. Uh,
Right.
and this is the kind of events that are happening to people all over the place. And
Right. You hear
um,
about that people, and that's what I'm saying. Sometimes people have this experience, which is like, look, if you're going to ask me to provide proof for you, I don't. All I know is the experience I have. And you know
mhm,
yourself. You see what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yep, oh
So
yeah,
if nobody else is convinced, you're convinced. How's
sure,
that?
sure. And some of the other things that have happened on three different occasions, I saw UFOs in the sky.
You
Um,
did.
yeah, yeah. One was absolutely unmistakable. The second one was, it looked like right in front of my eyes, a um, a wormhole opened and a ship
Hmm.
came flying out of the middle of it.
Wow.
And then the third time, there was well, you've heard about there's silver spheres that people are
Yes.
saying around.
Yes.
Well, this sphere that I saw was a bright red. I mean, glowing bright red. It was obvious what it was up there. It was
Okay.
craziest thing I've ever seen. And just as I got up towards it, I was probably within maybe 50 yards of it. Um, I was ready to turn off onto an interstate, and
Okay.
I put on my turn signal to turn, and this thing, whatever, wherever it was, I think it was hanging out above the power lines, and
Okay.
this thing charged at the car and came at the car in a sinusoidal way, like this, and skipped
Uh-huh.
off my windshield.
Wow.
It was like, what in the hell was that?
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
to this day, I don't know what it was,
Okay.
and
No,
it was
that's
obvious it wasn't it wasn't an airplane. It wasn't a drone.
okay.
It was about 10 years ago, so it was less likely that it would have been a drone because um, they have a whole lot more abilities now than they did back then.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
but this was absolutely nuts, just nuts.
Do you think that we've back engineered technology, that we have recovered stuff from ships, or it was,
Yes,
or not?
absolutely, we have, and I believe that we've probably engineered enough ships for us to have a space force of our own.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
and you'll find a lot of ufologists that think that. I didn't think that so much,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm pretty convinced now that we have the ability to do a lot of things that they could do years ago,
Okay.
and we could, uh,
Okay.
um,
That's very interesting.
you know,
Now, do you think that hopefully, well, I don't know. See, this is the thing I'm thinking. Once you develop some type of craft, that you're thinking, okay, the next step is, using it to go, I mean, how far is it going to allow us to travel out of our, is it going to be within the solar system, out of the solar system? What, and again, and I think you made a good point that we're not, right now, we're not really built, unless they have a way of inside the spaceship that, we're used to the gravity here, the atmosphere here. In other words, right now, we're not really built for space travel unless there's something inside the ship that protects the human body and allows it to go, let's say, a distance, however it is that they travel, right? Without, you ending up looking like a blob by the when you when you get to point B because that's a a lot of people think that sometimes they don't realize it's just not the how to travel, it's what's the effects on the human body because at the end of the day we're earthlings.
Hmm.
So that's something that and you always think, I don't know. I guess it's challenging. You want to go
Oh yeah.
out, you see all these movies about, you know, when we're out there traveling amongst the stars and going to all these planets, but at the same time, you never know what you're going to come across out there.
Oh my goodness, no. Um, I believe that they have probably gone out and visited multiple star systems
Okay.
fairly close to us. So they've been able to solve that kind of a problem. Um,
Okay.
the other thing that um, I found quite interesting is um, one of the solutions for
Mm-hmm.
us being able to travel large distances is something that's called the Alcubierre drive, and that's
Okay.
um, warp speed, more or less.
Okay.
It takes uh, what is in front of the spaceship and
Mm-hmm.
puts it behind it.
Okay.
So the ship is just sitting there, unmoving,
Right.
and it's actually based on what someone is seeing from a distance. It's actually moving at a speed probably exceeding the speed of light, but you
Right.
don't feel movement on the ship.
Right, right. In other words, it's like if what's you're the what's and that's another thing that you would think, okay, I imagine with that you would need a very, very good star map or map of wherever you're going.
You better.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
hope you
you
could.
get lost real quick out there.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Not only a star map, as far as if you've got asteroid belts or just debris, stuff out there you don't want to run into. Um, and that's the thing because if you say, well, I'm gonna go to this cluster, whatever, might as well not be there if it's not habitable or if it's, you see what I'm saying? If
Hmm.
you don't know what's gonna be there when you get where you're going, at least know about it. How's that?
Sure, sure. Boy, it's the kind of problems that it's going to create um, will change the entire life on our planet
Sure.
because as we start solving those problems, um, they're going to be uh, a direct assistance to the life on the planet. In other words, to the civilians, we are going to realize instantly of all of the things that they're doing,
Okay.
as opposed to what's happening now, where everything is kept a secret
Sure.
and they just allow little trickles of stuff to get out, and
Mm-hmm.
it's uh, that will also be a rather large uh, revelation because once they once they show that there are other civilizations who are paying close attention to us, then they're going to have to come up with what they have been able to back engineer, and our life will just never be the same here.
Well, let me ask you, and this is the thing, and that's why I asked you about disclosure because we've always been looking for governments, and I'm not talking only the United States, worldwide, to be the ones that do disclosure. I'm thinking, well,
Hmm.
are the ETs going to say, get out of the way, we're going to disclose ourselves? Like you
They
said,
might.
we're going to park our spaceship
Yep.
there, and everybody's going to be like, what? And then, it would be interesting how they would do it. Are they going to approach individuals? I mean, when I mean individuals, I mean everyday people, not like, let me go to your leader kind of deal. You know, in other words, we're not going to let you
Hmm.
filter, in between us and the populace at large.
Well, they're already doing that.
Okay.
They have reached out to uh, probably millions of people, and as soon as they pop up in the sky and say, "Here
Mm-hmm.
we are," everybody's going to start remembering. that
Okay.
uh, that hey, that's where we came from.
So in other words, what you're saying is there's a lot of people that have memories that they're holding in their subconscious mind that just don't remember it.
Subconscious, yes. And as soon as they see stuff, they're going to remember, and it's going to be um, like a watershed moment.
Hmm. Right. Yeah, that aha moment when stuff
Hmm.
like yes, that I can understand. As far as now let me ask you, why do you think there's people out there that describe negative encounters with ETs, whether it's through abduction or anything? What do you think
Well,
that is about?
um, let me just say that if you were taken
Hmm.
and you woke up in a place that you weren't familiar with no clothes on, and saw these bug-eyed people looking down from above, um, it would be extremely frightening to you,
Yeah. Yep.
and that's where the negative feelings come. I
Sure.
don't believe that they have very much in the way of bad feelings for us or they mean us any harm because, uh, for the most part, the people that are interfacing with us that way
Hmm.
were involved in creating us. So they
Okay.
aren't going to do that kind of harmful thing. They just won't.
Right. Well, you know what? You also get the how's this? The version, whether it's creation or tweaking, that they really kind of like did it just to use us. How's this? As whether it's workers or, in other words, not as equals. And I'm sure you've heard that version. That yeah, that maybe tweaked us, our genetics to make us whatever for something, some ulterior purpose, but it has nothing to do with um we wanna welcome you in. We're gonna be the overlords, in other words.
Hmm.
And we've just been what it did. If for all we know, and I'm going here with different versions that you hear, like maybe yeah, they've been around, but they've been harvesting us for maybe ages, and we just didn't know. Now with more modern stuff of whether it's cameras and things like that, we've caught on. But before swaths of people maybe would went missing, and nobody was, hey, that person just
Yeah.
or that group of people disappeared, and who knows what happened to them? What do you think?
Well, I don't think they ever wanted to be in charge of us. They
Okay,
wanted to get us to the point where um, we would realize that we are all part of them to begin with, that we're all one group, even though we look so drastically different. We're all
okay,
part of the same source,
okay,
and they want us to advance to the point where we can be peers with them. They don't
okay,
want to be overlords. They don't want any part of that. Uh,
okay,
and in the past, that has happened um, when there was visitations
hmm,
thousands of years ago. Uh, the people weren't ready for that, and even though they needed a little assist in learning how to live,
right,
uh, some of the things that happened weren't in the best interest of the extraterrestrial visitors. They
okay,
just didn't. They didn't want any part of it. But now, as we're getting smarter and closer to being on a peer level with them,
right,
now they're a whole lot happier and will welcome us into a community of planets.
okay. What do you think we bring to the table? Is it just because we've reached that level, or why would they? Because obviously, with so much, they're much more advanced than us technologically. At least that much we know. All
Mhm.
right. What do you think we would bring to the table?
Well, okay. Boy, that's a multifaceted question there. Um,
I mean, it was like, who wants the humans? Those people on Earth. Yeah.
right. Technologically, we can catch up in a heck of a hurry.
Okay.
Not because we're so smart, but because once they reveal to us what their what their technologies are, then we'll catch on very quickly. So that's one aspect.
Okay.
That won't be a hindrance. Where the
Okay.
hindrance would be involved is the advancement of the people, so that they would they would see um, they would see uh, their existence as nothing but love and respect for others. Well, right
Okay.
now, on the planet, that's not the case.
Right. In other words, there's a positive aspect too.
Yeah. So once once we get to the point where we're going to have large amounts of people
Mm-hmm.
um, advancing to that point,
Okay.
then that will be that'll allow us to be awfully close to them,
Okay. Okay.
because we're going to be in the fifth dimension at that point, and some of us may not even have corporal bodies.
Well, you beat me to my next question because, obviously, but you always think, we're kind of attached to our bodies, especially since we're alive. That part, which is like, how do you, how's this? Because, you always see, we'll use a space movie, where if you're going into an atmosphere, you got a space suit on, or you've got a life form that's not us. How's this? There's other things out there, maybe beyond our imagination. Like, how would we be able to, like, would have to wear a spacesuit or something? What would be the common meeting ground for you
Well,
to see or exchange ideas? That it's like, that's a big question mark. Because not
yeah.
everything, we have to come to the realization, more than likely, everything out there is really, really, really different from us.
um, I think once uh, a certain amount of us on this planet have have advanced themselves to a
Hmm.
full five-dimensional existence,
Right.
then they don't need the bodies, and they don't even use language. They
Okay.
just mind to mind.
Like a
So
telepathic kind of
yeah,
deal.
so we'll be very close to these other civilizations, and we can catch on to what they're doing and be able to communicate and cohabitate, because we will be um, um, full of love for everything and everyone.
Yeah. What do you think in this whole, let's say, what do you think is going to be the role of AI and robotics that's now advancing so rapidly?
Ooh.
At parallel with UFO discoveries. What do you think is how that's going to play into this?
Um, I think we're going to have to be real careful with that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think the AI could easily get out of hand
Okay.
and start our demise.
That's a nice way of putting it.
Mm.
Okay. All right. Why do you believe that AI will become self-aware? In other words, realize, well, you know what? These humans get any point turn me off if they wanted to, so I got to make sure that doesn't happen. How do I do that? Get rid of all the humans.
That's that's possible. Um,
Okay.
that I think that's what we have to be careful of, and monitor the AI as it goes on. Unfortunately, it grows so quickly
Right.
that we may not be able to control it. We
Right.
may actually need assistance from visitors from beyond in order to control it, because it's going to grow very quickly.
Right. Because sometimes I think, well, if not the demise of the human race, you know, uh, how's this? Find some way of doing away with all the scientists or all the techs that know how to run it, and then just leave the people that don't know what to do with it. Like, in other words, if you know how to run this thing, we're gonna get rid of you. In other words, we'll just leave enough humans running around that have no expertise or knowledge of what to do with AI or robotics, that kind of deal. And then, of course, you think, well, what would they keep us around for? Who knows? Um, Because, we always think that this is the thing. Humans, in and of themselves, usually try to find a purpose in life, a reason for existence, whatever it might be. Everybody's different. But then you ask yourself, okay, if AI becomes sentient, self-aware, what would its purpose be if there were no humans to tell it what to do? Is it just the existence, or what would happen? It's one of those things like, but I agree with you though that I think that that is a very slippery slope that we
Mm,
really don't understand. There's things that we
indeed.
imagine, and there's a lot of stuff we haven't imagined.
Hmm.
And then, like you said, or we get to a point that by the time we realize it's like too late, you can't unplug it, that kind of thing. Um, because I know everybody, there's many people that think of robotics and AI as, replacement for jobs and all that work that people don't like to do that's repetitive and boring. But, you know, maybe not as dramatic as like the Terminator movie, like Skynet kind of deal, but
Yeah, that whole thing. I obviously I don't know where it's going to go,
right.
um, but that's why I mentioned before that it may get out of hand for us as humans,
Right.
and we may require the assistance of someone from
Can you
beyond.
imagine all the ETs are waiting for us to get
Yeah.
fifth dimensional and we're done in by AI and they're like, what happened?
Hmm.
Yeah, the robots got them. Oh boy. And they were
Uh,
almost there.
all
Um,
that is possible.
yep, yep. Wouldn't that be ironic in a way? We're advancing on a level so that we could basically hook up with other types of races or species from other planets or galaxies, and our own invention basically decimates us. That'd be very ironic.
Um, I really wouldn't be surprised if that's happened before somewhere in the universe.
Okay.
We
Okay.
as a people get so smart that we create this thing and think it's helping us for a while until it decides not to help us anymore,
Sure.
and then we're in big trouble. And I would not be surprised if that happened somewhere.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. And I'm gonna use Hollywood as a reference because everybody's seen a lot of movies. So I don't know. There was the first Alien movie in which that they encounter the alien, and it turns out that the science officer is an android, very made to look very much like a human. Basically,
Mhm.
it's like and it's tasked with bringing back this life form to Earth. Even that, in other words, the crew is expendable, right?
Mm.
Which is like everybody thinks of the alien being the villain of the movie. In reality, it's the science officer. Yeah, you have big problems with the alien, but the the real villain is, and then of course the how's this? I'm getting to the that it's a corporation that has built these AIs and put them, let's say, on an explored. Well, it was a mining trip, but always on the hope that they come across some type of life form and that humans are expendable at the behest of corporations owned by humans, but that have the robots do their dirty work for them. I don't think that's far fetched either. You know.
Oh, I know. It's I'm I'm I don't have a necessarily a good feeling about it at this point. I think it's gotten out of hand, but I don't. I'm not in the middle of the construction of the thing, so I don't have that inside knowledge. But it seems a little scary to me at this point.
Well, you know
And
what? I think part of the impetus, because we always think of like, again, like I said, from whether you think of it as from, hey, we're going to use it in manufacturing, or I think that there's also an impetus of people that want to live forever, but their bodies will not, and they're hoping somehow or other they will try to get their awareness. How's that? I guess that's the only way, of their mind
mm,
into a body that doesn't fall apart. That behind the scenes, there's a part of the effort is, forget the thing that, companies will use them to do, manufacturing or do the hard labor. No, I think there's behind the scenes, there's a group of them that are saying, hey, you know what? If you remember that there was a bunch of I guess people with deep pockets that had they were cryogenically frozen after death because they
Yeah.
were hoping that at some point in the future
Hmm.
they were going to be
Um,
able to be revived.
Ted Williams was one of them.
Really? I did not
Yeah.
know that.
Yep.
Okay, that there was a, and I think that this is the 21st century version of that wish. All right. In other words, I'm not gonna hope that I'll be brought out of this when no, we'll find a way of inserting your personality, your mind, your whatever you have,
Mhm.
whatever you want to call it, into some type of robot or something like that. So,
Years ago, that wasn't possible.
mm-hmm,
And what they were hoping for is that the medical field would have expanded
mm-hmm,
quickly enough that they would be able to go back, wake them up, and fix them.
yes,
Um,
exactly.
Now, that's less of an issue
Mm-hmm,
than being able to download their consciousness, their entire mind,
right,
onto a computer and reutilize that into a cyborg or something along those lines.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That we're gonna, and some other stuff, it's really funny because once upon a time that would have been deep and high science
Mm,
fiction and not anymore. And
not
then
anymore.
again, we come back to, um, if we have ETs, they were looking at us and thinking, oh my God, what are they doing? They're, you
I can
know,
only imagine what they're thinking.
it's like exactly like
Yeah.
they've gotten so, how's this? They've become so intelligent and so innovative, but at the same time, what are they doing? Do they realize that they're going to do away with their own kind?
Hmm. Again, that's something I'd be willing to bet that a civilization somewhere in the universe has already done.
So do you think they would step in and stop us from doing that?
Maybe it would depend on what was going on. Um, Let me give you an example. If
Hmm.
some rogue person were to decide to start the big war,
Right,
and override the systems and launch a nuclear weapon to some other country,
right.
um, I believe they could easily step in and wipe that out.
Okay.
However, if an entire country decided to go rogue, then I'm not so sure that they would be willing to jump in the middle of that. And
Right.
um,
That's the thing. And I guess how's that? That there's either extermination by that or what they say, death by a thousand cuts, which is
mm,
in a way what, let's say, if our own intelligence and developing AI and robotics and down the line, like I said, and I'm always thinking, they do all these inventions and they go there thinking they can always second guess what will be the result of whatever it is they're doing. But I think everything always goes wrong when you have a result that you could not have foreseen for some reason. And I think that sometimes that happens and that's when things go sideways. Um,
uh, that makes total sense. Um, I think every civilization that has done harm to themselves, blown
mhm,
themselves up, or damaged themselves has
right,
always come across something that they didn't expect.
right. Exactly. Something that they
Yeah,
couldn't plan, no contingency for it,
yeah,
not the worst case scenario. Think, well, if that happens, we'll do that or whatever.
yes.
It'll be like, what? What do you mean that's happening? And again, like and part of me also, Tom, I'm thinking because I have heard that theory where ETs would step in if we were going to do something drastic, especially with like decimating the Earth, with in war, And I think some people sometimes fall back on that, like they're going to be our savior. And sometimes I think, what if they don't? What if they're like, okay, you guys wanted to do that? Okay,
Yep.
I guess we'll start from scratch again or something. I don't know. I don't want to take the how's this. I don't think we should fall back on that and just not be responsible. How's that for our actions?
Mm.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, we're definitely responsible for all of it. And I hope that we have the um, calmness of mind to make the right decision at the right time.
let me ask you, what do you think, or what can you tell me about something as how's this, as inexplainable as cattle mutilations that you think, okay, why would they want to do this?
Hmm. Well, that's really interesting. People have been asking that question for years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, does it have something to do with the DNA of a cow that they're tinkering with? Or does it have something to do with the DNA that's involved in the cow that they're using to support their own life forms?
Okay.
Um, I
Right. And
tend to
that's
think that it's more along the lines of helping themselves and taking a cow that um, we may not miss and doing what they will with it. Uh,
right.
to their own good.
And how's this? I think that if how's this? I think that if cattle go missing all the time and cattle just die, that's part of the that comes with the territory.
Hmm.
I think that, is a little bit difficult to explain is number one, the mutilations, that there's only certain parts of the cattle. As a matter of fact, the least desirable parts of the cattle are taken. That's number one. And in some instances, they'll say that the ranchers that if they find the carcass, they'll drag it away because even predators will not go for it, which is unheard of.
Right.
Normally, if it's cattle that dies on its own,
Well, yeah.
then right away predators come and start eating at it. Um, and it's like, okay, I don't know. I think that's a little bit disturbing, to be honest with you. I think that's the part that I think makes people afraid as far as that connection to extraterrestrials. Like, why are they doing that?
Hopefully, that's one of the first few questions that are
It's
asked.
like, what are you doing? What are you doing this with to the cattle, the
Mhm.
cows, right? Okay,
But I would think that it's a mundane answer that
okay,
really has nothing to do with us as humans.
okay. In other words, it's just for whatever reason. Maybe it's something that we have no idea what the connection is until they
Hmm.
let us in on it.
Yep.
That we're like, oh, is that why you've been taking the cows?
So
Okay, that would be interesting. So what do you guesstimate? What do you see a timeline? When do you think that they might do this disclosure?
yeah, and in one of the events that happened to me at night,
Mm-hmm.
um, um, I've had several conversations with people that I didn't know who they were,
Okay.
and they told me that they will see me at 2027.
Really
Yeah. Now,
interesting.
um, that is probably a fairly good date because I've heard that bantied around by a whole lot of people.
Okay.
Um, that I heard late 2026,
Mm-hmm.
early 2027, mid
Right.
2027, but it's going to be that kind of time frame where something will happen. Now,
Right.
maybe it won't be ships that are landing on the White House lawn, so that they would be available on the evening news.
Right.
I don't think we'll see that for a while. However, I do believe that they'll do something that will be in, as I mentioned before, a parade of ships in the sky,
Okay.
and go park and allow us to just get used to them, and then perhaps little by little, certain kinds of ships will reveal who's in them, and
Mm-hmm.
as they do that, there'll be from the very beginning people who are similar to us,
Right.
um, and then it will get a little bit more unusual as the time goes on to people who don't look anything like us and almost are based on a different life form.
Do you think they've hybridized versions of us with them?
Um, that's a good question. Um, I've interviewed a bunch of people
Mm-hmm.
who swear up and down that they've had multiple children through
Okay.
the ETs,
Right.
and that they have been taken multiple times, and
Mm-hmm.
as a matter of fact, with each of them have been taken up so that they can meet their children, so that
Okay.
they know that the children are doing well.
Okay.
And so um, I think there's going probably going to be a contingent of hybrids that may be their how do I say this? It's going to be their contribution to our planet initially and get us advanced a whole lot quicker than we would have advanced ourselves.
Maybe make us feel more comfortable because they look more like us, kind of deal. Like,
Uh, that has got to be part of the equation. It's got to be.
and what do you think about grays? Do you think, because I've read some versions that they're biomechanical. What do you think? What do you think about the grays?
Well, I think the grays are, they aren't mechanical,
Mm-hmm.
they are biological,
Mm-hmm.
but um, they are manufactured biological um,
Okay.
things that have certain tasks to do. In other words, when a ship comes in and they need someone to either talk to or whatever the deal is, they will send the little grays, which are the biological entities,
Mm-hmm.
um, who can change their vibration very quickly and without any harm to themselves. So they can go from something like the ETs are in the fifth dimension, lower themselves to the third dimension, then come into our existence and escort us up to the ship so that they can do whatever they were intending to do, and then escort
Okay.
us back. Um, but
Okay.
they can do it easier.
Right.
The little guys. Um,
No, I
th-
understand what you mean. They're like the, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and I've heard of that.
yeah. The actual entities themselves, the fifth dimensional guys. I think it's probably pretty painful for them to lower their vibration down to the third dimension like we are, and
Mm-hmm.
come in and do their bidding. I think it's just beyond them.
Okay. What do you think, or what have you come across as far as the reptilians that you always hear kind of negative stuff about that type of ET? Do they actually exist, or what have you heard about that?
Okay, you broke up during that
The
conversation.
reptilians.
Oh,
What have you?
oh, the reptilians.
Mm-hmm.
Um, well, I think the reptilians are probably third dimensional beings
Mm-hmm.
that are living on our planet and kind of running the show at this point, but they're starting to lose control. And
Okay.
the ships that are visiting from uh, other dimensions, other planets, and are coming in and are eventually going to take over the show, and they are going to show themselves to us. But I think that the reptilians are probably, at least this is what I've heard,
Mm-hmm.
this is what it was discussed with me. They're probably on the way out.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because I've always heard that kind of negative stuff about the reptilians. You know, that they're not that friendly towards humans, kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, they have their own agenda. I don't think they particularly care about us. Uh,
Right.
I'm not so certain that they're negative entities that they hate everything. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but they have their own agenda, and they're running their agendas on the planet now, but they're starting to lose control.
Well, sometimes I think that we know, of course, as humans, we judge the actions of, let's say, ETs based on our moral compass. How's that? All right. And that maybe they'll do something that to us is like, wow, that's bad. But there's no maliciousness on their part. How you understand what I'm saying? It's just that's the way they, like you said, maybe this is something that they do because of their agenda. But what we interpreted through our sensibilities, and they don't mean it that way, even though the end result for us is negative. How's that?
Um,
Um, what do you think?
okay. Um, I don't think that once you have um, advanced yourself
Mm-hmm.
uh, into the fifth dimension, such as the extraterrestrials have done,
Right.
uh, I don't think that you're really negative at that point. I think you
Okay.
see everything as a positive.
Okay.
Um, now, true, there may be agendas that get in the way of that, but I think generally that's how it goes. Now, the uh, the ones that exist on the earth right now who are somewhat negative,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not so certain that they came from a different planet or a different place. They may have
Okay.
lived here all along
All
and
right.
maybe just alongside of us, but were invisible to us. So they may have been in the fourth dimension.
Okay. So basically, what you're saying is that if a species is able to be in the fifth dimension, how's this, their motivation or their actions are going to be always be on the positive side because that and that. In other words, this is the only way that they were able to attain the fifth dimension.
I think that's probably likely. Now,
Okay.
of course, I'm not in the fifth dimension. So I can only go based on uh, um, following the dots and see where it
Sure.
leads me. But that's my understanding.
Okay. Right. And you know what? I agree with you because at the end of the day, it's like the big question mark. A lot of this stuff we can only theorize about
Hmm.
it as far as what really is their motives or what's going to happen when we actually get to this, maybe it's what we expect, maybe it's not. Like I said, maybe our interpretation of something is not, like I said, it's not what, it's what we would like it to be. You understand what I'm saying? Not necessarily. It's like a big question mark of, and maybe the understanding is, how sometimes you just have to be understanding of differences. Like, hey, that group from that star from that planet. Oh, okay, they're fifth dimensional, but boy, that kind of deal. It's like,
Um,
it's just
Absolutely. Um, we're going to have different opinions of different civilizations based on what it is that they think they want from us. And that's going to happen. There's just no way around that. Um, but I think that once we get up to and approach the fifth dimension, that
mm-hmm.
um, everyone is going to be positive, and we are going to be able to, for all intents and purposes, shed our mortal bodies and live in spirit alongside them.
Okay, which is really what everybody at the not that I don't want to use because I don't like to put down humans. I mean, I think there's a lot of good people. It's just that we are the way we are. You know what I'm saying? Let me
Mhm.
ask you, Tom. This last book. What was the last book that you put out?
Oh, the last book was
Hmm.
The Night Visitants.
Okay.
That was Basically, it was written by Anna,
Mm-hmm.
but she interviewed me, and I told her of all the stories and all the things that have happened to me. Um,
Okay.
there's, there's about 12 or 13 different events that happened to me that were highly unusual, let's say.
Let me ask you, did
And
you ever have experiences as a kid, or was it only after you were an adult?
no, I had nothing,
Okay.
nothing before that. Before I retired, I didn't even believe in
Really?
psychic anything, nothing, zero. Uh,
Okay.
but I always had a um,
Okay.
desire to see what people claimed they were seeing on
Okay.
like ghost shows and things like that. So
Mm-hmm.
I joined a paranormal team when I retired.
Okay.
So, um, and then about 2 years into it, I started writing blogs about UFOs, and
Okay.
that's when my world changed. Everything went fluid. Let me tell you, just the stories, the dreams, the things that would happen to me. It was just bizarre.
Okay. Do you think, remember at the beginning I mentioned like the weird weather patterns, and now,
Mm.
that we had that earthquake slash tsunami that
Yeah.
off the coast. Do you think, not that they would have anything to do with it, do you think, and the reason why I'm bringing it up is, I'm sure you've heard that there's people that are saying there's weather manipulation. There's a young man who's making the rounds. He's the CEO of a company called Rainmaker, where they've been seeding the clouds, blah, 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 blah. And do you think that the weather manipulation, is it a man-made or an ET uh, source, if that's happening?
Um, okay. Um, none of the above. I
Okay.
think what's actually happening is that we have been dumping crap into our skies for so long
Okay.
that we've started to change um, the composition of the environment, the
Hmm.
composition of the atmosphere, and uh, we we put a large thick layer of carbon dioxide
Okay.
over top of the Earth, and
Hmm.
what would happen is the sun would shine on the planet,
Right.
and uh, let's say it would come in directly against the equator,
Okay.
and then what normally used to happen is it just reflected back out into
Okay.
space. That's what
Hmm.
used to happen. Well, it
Okay.
doesn't do that anymore. It starts to change the environment, and everything ever so slightly warms up. We've jumped up 2 degrees centigrade, which doesn't seem like a lot, but 2 degrees centigrade has changed um, our environment almost entirely. Uh, Texas will have like 3 straight months of 100 degrees.
Right.
Same with Arizona and New Mexico, and
Okay.
that has affected a whole lot of things. Incidentally, one of the things that affects is
Hmm.
um, evaporation, and the
Okay.
evaporation of the lakes it goes up into the atmosphere, and there's um, more water vapor in the clouds to
Right.
shed out. So what happens is we have bigger storms, and
Right.
because we have bigger storms, we have larger uh, rain events,
Okay.
um, in smaller areas, such
Right.
as what happened back in the beginning of July in Central Texas.
Right in
Uh,
Kerrville.
yeah, so it just since we changed the environment by doing what we were doing, we have a problem now.
Do you
We're
think
gonna
that
have to
also
live.
solar flares then that reach us? if there's a solar flare that
This-
also has some impact?
Um, I don't think they have too much of an impact. I think
Okay.
the only impact that the solar flare has is charging the upper atmosphere and
Mm-hmm.
creating um, um, light shows up north. And those
Okay.
light shows have become so large that they are uh, down almost at times down into North Carolina, and that
Right, like the
never
aurora borealis kind
yeah,
of. You're right,
that
that normally you
never,
would think you can only see it if you're way up there.
yeah,
Not.
that never ever happened. When I was a kid, uh,
Mm-hmm.
the, it may have been once in a lifetime event back when I was a kid, but
Okay.
now, oh my goodness, it's happening constantly. So there's a lot of things that we've done to the planet that are changing it, um, not necessarily for the good, and we have to we have to get through that. Now, will ET come in and help us with the technology
Right.
to uh, pull the uh, pull the CO2, extra CO2 and methane out of the air? Well,
Mm-hmm.
what's happening now is the Earth is warming up so much that the permafrost is melting, and that's where all the methane is stored. So as the
Okay.
permafrost melts, the methane bubbles up and
Okay.
goes up into the atmosphere, and that is well probably 8 or 10 times as potent as CO2.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's one is feeding the other, which is feeding the first, which is reinforcing the second, and it's just made the planet extra hot, and we are approaching a point where the planet is almost becoming uninhabitable. Still
Right.
a lot of
And
years to go, maybe 75 to 100 years, but if we don't get it under control, then we're going to have a real big problem.
or hopefully ET will step up and save our butts. What do you think?
I hope. Oh my goodness sake.
Hey, why not? They'll be like, okay, you guys, stop it, knock it off here before you exterminate yourselves.
Jeez.
It happens. I mean, that's what, again, I want to say, I don't want to leave it totally like that because, like I said, I think we let go of our responsibility, but then you always hope that, yeah, because some things, they, like you said, sometimes it's a slippery slope downwards. It's like you want to fix it, but it's like too late, too late.
Yeah. Um, and I certainly hope that doesn't happen with the Earth heating up because it's heating up on the north and the south pole more
Hmm.
than in the center of the planet, and that is in effect starting to have a real effect on the ice. And if the Antarctic melts or Greenland melts or something like that, we're going to have multiple cities around the world that are just going to be underwater.
Now that you mention Antarctica, do you think there is any truth to what they're saying that there are UFO bases or bases, period, in Antarctica?
There's something there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is,
Okay.
but I think it's something very unusual. That's all I can say about it.
Right. Just I think from the point of that they don't allow people, you just can't go up there or fly there or something like that. I believe it's kind of restricted airspace.
Yeah. You can't fly over, but who would
Right.
want to fly over? That is kind of
I
forbidden
know, but
land.
that's always going to feel a conspiracy. Think about it. Oh, why can't we do that? That kind of deal.
Mhm.
Yeah. Again, Tom, let me ask you, are you working on any new books or anything new right now?
Yeah, I am struggling. Let me put it
Okay.
this way. I'm having trouble writing a book, and the book is supposedly about God.
Okay.
Now, I am not um, a a priest, a minister, or anything else. Now, why
Okay.
the heck would I write a book about God? Well,
Right.
in one of the events that happened, um, that I dictated to Anna,
Mm-hmm.
um, early in the morning, I woke up. It was again my usual time of waking up since I started having these nighttime dreams. Was almost exactly 3 a.m. And when I
Okay.
woke up, that's when I would be realizing that I knew stuff that I didn't think I should know. Like
Okay.
somebody's been talking to me. It's
Mm-hmm.
very, very strange, Marlene. I can't even put my finger on what I think is happening, but
Okay.
um, right into my ear, and I heard this as an audible voice.
Okay.
Uh, it was uh, it was something along the lines of, "God is far bigger than you ever thought it was,
Wow.
and I think you should write about it."
Okay. And you're gonna do it then.
Boy, I'm trying. It's so hard because um, who the heck am I? I mean,
Right.
I don't have the background, and
Right.
I've started and stopped this particular section several times already. Um, but um, I know I have to because something or someone is talking in my ear and encouraging me to do it. So,
Okay. All right. Well, you know what? There's a lot of people that, and sometimes things work themselves out as you start going along.
yep,
But some people they never even get started. They talk themselves out of it
yeah,
because they feel I don't have anything like or like what you said. I don't have any background in this. Like what am I gonna?
yep.
But
One of the things that I learned um, early on is that um, well, let me put it this way: I was raised Catholic,
mm-hmm.
and I had a set of beliefs based on my time in grade school, Catholic schools,
Right.
and of course they taught all the curriculum and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got away from the church when when I entered the military,
Okay.
and I just never went back to it because something didn't seem right to me
Right.
about the teachings of God and what I was realizing. So something was off. And
Okay.
when I heard that voice in my head, it was almost like something turned me on to start thinking about God again. And
Okay.
since then, God has become uh, uh, wow, this is hard to even put into words. Uh, God has become something that I look for in just about everything that I do.
Okay.
Um, and it has absolutely nothing to do with what I was taught in grade school. And it has virtually nothing to do um, with one of the courses that I took in
Okay.
college, which was comparative religions. It's not the same God. It just isn't. Um, and
Right.
what I seem to want to settle in on is that um, we all came from exactly the same place. All of us,
Right.
extraterrestrials, everything,
The same
all came from
source
exactly the same place. The source, the source of all of this,
is
um,
the same source.
the same source, one true God, and it has again nothing to do with religion or anything else.
Right. Or
And
theology or dogma or anything like that.
nothing,
Right.
nothing. And I'm trying to piece together what my thought process has become and how I can put it into words. And it's not easy. you see me struggling trying to explain it. It's very, very difficult for me to do.
Oh, maybe you'll get it. Maybe you'll have another dream or another insight or something like you said that when you're waking up in the morning,
Yep.
that you'll get that flash, whether it's intuition or a thought or like, that thing that it's like, okay, I hadn't thought of that.
I keep asking
Okay.
at night when I go to sleep. You guys want me to do this? I need a
Hmm.
little bit of help.
Okay.
Somebody's got to talk to me. I got to get some help on this, and
Okay.
I'm still waiting for an answer.
Yes. I know. Sometimes, and you know what? As a trained hypnotherapist, I will tell you that sometimes we kind of put our own stumbling blocks when we think we're out of our depth or we're like, this is beyond me. So, in other words, we kind of sabotage ourselves in a
Hmm.
way. So, I wouldn't be surprised if that's part of it. Like, part of you, the logical or conscious part of your mind wants to move forward with this. Like, give me something. But
Yeah,
then there maybe is a subconscious part on your life, like this. This is a big. How am I gonna figure this out? Like I don't know where to start. In other words, you shortchange yourself, or this is beyond me, or how am I gonna? God, this is a that's this is this the subject matter is what? So sometimes we kind of block ourselves in a way,
yeah.
a little bit out of fear.
I've been struggling with this, Marlene, for about 2 years now,
All right.
and I think I may be done with writing about UFOs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I went into the database structure and what the sightings were and put them
Okay.
into graphs and everything else. And I think I'm done with that particular aspect of it.
Okay.
Um, I, I made my proofs, and I expected um, the proofs to stand on their own merit.
Right.
Uh, Now it's like I've been uh, I've been asked to do something a little different. So I don't know. We'll see.
And you least expect it. Tom, I
Yep.
want to thank you. It's been wonderful to speak to you. All right. For my podcast listeners, where can they find more information about you and your books, etc.?
Hmm.
Where can they
Okay.
go? Where do you have like a website or
No, I don't. My books are on sale and
an Amazon?
Amazon. I
Okay.
write under the name Thomas W. Conwell.
Okay. All right. And I know sometimes that makes a difference.
Yeah, there's so many. There's about 4 or 5 Tom Conwells. They were
Ah,
authors, believe it or not.
really?
Um,
Okay.
yeah, Thomas W. Conwell. And I think I'm the only Thomas W. Conwell around,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
and the only person with the last name of Conwell that writes about UFOs. So it shouldn't be that difficult to find.
Let me ask you, in your prior books, I know that in your bio, there's mention that you have a 3 volume series. What do you detail there? Is this people telling you about their experiences or investigations that you carried out, or you were just tracking people saying, "Hey, I saw this at this place."
Okay. Um, the National UFO Reporting Center has a
Mm-hmm.
database, and that
Okay.
database is available to everyone.
Ah, okay.
And you can go in and look at the sightings, the sighting
Mm-hmm.
reports, and what people think. Um, they write their own sighting report.
I see. Okay.
Sometimes it's 2 paragraphs, sometimes it's 20 paragraphs.
Okay.
Um, but they write and and say what um, what they saw and what they
Mm-hmm.
think they saw.
Okay.
And I what I did was I read through all of the sightings. I mean, all of them,
Okay.
and picked out the ones that I thought were the most uh, important or convincing, and those are part of the book. where
I
there's
see.
the
Right.
description. And then I also looked at some of the major types of sightings that were made and graphed them by year and showed how the amount of sightings has increased over the years.
Just
So
answer my next question since you've been tracking that. What is it? Or is the reporting gone up as far as the
yes,
number of reports?
yes, it went up slowly in the early years. This is
Okay.
from like 1945 to 1990,
Okay.
1995. And the reason that it just went up for that is because the National UFO Reporting Center was not taking reports at that time,
Ah, okay, okay,
right?
okay. I see
So
what you
then
mean.
people would see that that this thing was there, and they called in their own reports from
Mm-hmm.
the previous times, and there's a whole lot
I
of that.
understand now. I
Right.
understand.
Okay. Then in 1995, give or take, is
Right.
when they started categorizing the sightings, and then they put them in a huge database by about 2005. And there was a slight increase of sightings from
Mm-hmm.
2005 to 2011, give or take. And then in 2011, it jumped way up.
So let me ask, prior, they started putting this up in 1995, the stories, or
About, no, yeah, about that.
and
Just,
but people would detail stuff that maybe might have happened to them 20 or 30 years before.
yes, yes,
I understand. I understand. Because I was thinking what they were writing. No, this is the advent of the internet where you could send in an email or something as far as to get your story into that database.
yes, yep,
I understand now.
yep.
I understand. Okay, that's got to be really interesting because I bet you there's a people there that it's like I gotta get this off my chest. I gotta let
Oh, I know.
somebody know about what I saw or heard or whatever experience, even if they haven't told anybody else. I think there's a lot of people like that walking around.
Some of the people were so excited to report what they saw.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you could tell that they were excited because they started making stupid errors in the text that they were typing,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
and the more that they went into it, the worse the writing became.
Their grammar went.
Yeah, and yeah, they had their hands full trying to get their point across, and
Mm-hmm.
in some cases, uh, I didn't use those reports because they got so bad, and you couldn't even read them anymore.
You know what? Their
So,
mind is going faster than.
oh, I know, it,
Yeah.
it but I only included the ones that I thought were highly plausible.
Okay.
The ones that weren't plausible, or you could tell people were not so much
Mistaken?
making them up, but they didn't necessarily see some of the things they were writing down.
Right. Exactly. They could be mistaken. People, it's not that they believe. It's just that what they're seeing, they're mistaken in what they think they're seeing.
Yes, yep.
Okay.
But there's a whole lot of reports from each particular state. Uh, maybe in
Hmm.
some cases there may be 6 or 7 verbal reports
Okay.
from a particular state. And again, I picked the really good ones, the
Hmm.
ones that were um, believable.
Right.
And I think that because I put so many reports together in these books, that it spoke for itself.
Right. And again, these are people that don't know each other. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? These are individual sightings or an experience that they had that you can't say, well, let me ask you, did you come across any type of common thread among any of those reports besides the sighting?
And in what regard?
Well, whether it was the time of year, weather conditions, or anything like that.
Okay. Most of the reports were made from 6 p.m.
Hmm.
to about 11 p.m.
Okay.
Now, that's because that's the time that people went out to smoke at night,
Oh my God, yeah, that's right. I hadn't thought of
right?
that. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're out there smoking and their mind's
Hmm.
blank and they look, what the heck is that, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And or they're out walking their dog, and
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
the time where they don't have anything to do with their minds. They just look up. Um, but the another one of the big ones is everybody's looking up for fireworks on July 4th.
Hmm.
Very, very big uh, day to report sightings.
Really
Yep,
interesting.
because people are looking up.
Yeah, they're paying attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Um,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
if if you ever thought about, taking your garbage out, and
Hmm.
you take your garbage out, and your head's down, and you're walking, and you
Yeah.
put the garbage out, and you walk back in the house, and you don't even look up.
Yeah. I agree. I agree.
Mm.
I agree. Very few people, unless for some reason. But yeah, stargazing or anything like that in and of itself. Yeah, we're too caught up either doing a mental to-do list
Yep.
or
Oh
I
yeah.
gotta get back inside and watch that show. That.
Yeah. Uh,
I agree. I
Or
totally agree.
or living in the north like I live in, it is freezing out here. I got to get back in.
Yeah, let me do this quick, right?
Yeah.
Get in and out. Again, Tom, thank you so much. I'm going to put a link to your author's page on Amazon and the credits of the show. And thank you so much. It has been wonderful to speak to you.
Okay. Nice speaking with you, Marlene. Thank you for the opportunity to
On
talk
the
with
contrary,
you
on
and
the
your
contrary,
listeners.
it's been my pleasure. Take
Okay.
care.
Okay.
Wow. He's very optimistic about ETs. And anybody that's listened to me before, how's this? I want to be that way about ETs. I want to think that they're nice and that they're going to help us or that they're at some point they're going to say, okay, come, you guys have caught on. You're not barbarians anymore and join us. I would like to believe that version of, but I'm afraid I'm not going to lie to you. Maybe I've just watched too many shows where ET turns out that they, want us to eat us like that Twilight Zone. But anyway, God knows there's a bunch of series of movies that, but again, and and I know where he's coming from. He's saying, well, if you know what, if these ETs, because like he said, fifth dimensional, we're not talking, you know, seeing or experiencing things like we do now in the third dimension. Okay. But still, you know, they're for, how's this? They're technologically, they are more advanced. That's like a given. If they're there and if they've been able to travel, yes, they are. However, it is that they got here, whether it's a wormhole, uh, interdimensional, or they just figured out some way that we have no idea of how they did it. They're more advanced than us. And, you know, usually that puts us at, not us, any, and you can say, well, you're basing that on the way humans sees things, that the more technologically advanced group is always going to have the advantage, or the other group is at the mercy, and maybe they're just not that way. You're looking at it through the way a human sees things. But I can't help it because the only experience I have is being a human being, which is that the more technologically advanced group, even if they're not cruel or bad, they still hold sway um, over uh, what they could do for us or for us. I mean, for us or against us. How's that? You're not on an even footing with them. You can't negotiate. You can't tell them, yeah, no, yeah, we could have some type of uh relationship or whatever, but you guys gotta leave our planet. Wow, well, now if you don't, we'll kick you out. In other words, the negotiations are only done between groups or peoples or whatever you want to call it that are at the same level, right? Because let's face it, if one's up here and the other one's out here, yeah, you could use the word negotiations, but that's just a nice word of saying, All right, we'll pretend. We'll pretend that you got some say in this, unless it's something that we don't want, and then you'll find out you don't have a say in it. And I guess that's always my the way I look at that whole situation of what's going to be first contact, if there's ever going to be first contact, with an extraterrestrial race, whatever species, God knows, it could be nothing that does not appear to be human. Like, how's this? Um, that we're hope that because let's face it, anything, species, grays, whatever you want to call them, that has the ability to travel or be here and not be seen has the upper hand over us. I don't care which way they can be. Yeah, you guys say, well, they're nice, they're beneficent, they want to help us, and then eventually they're just wait. Okay, that's great. That's like you're hoping you're right, but that's still not a good feeling unless you know, hey, ah, what if we wanted you to leave? What if we told you, hey, now that we know you're here or you've been around, we want you to leave? Or yeah, or we'll hang out there, but you got to get off planet. All these ships got to go. And if you want to send down some ambassadors, some emissaries, that's great, but we want you guys out of here. How do we make them comply? And you can say, well, and if you go by Tom's, once we've reached that level of fifth dimensional, whatever, we would never say something like that, or that we would be very happy because we're going to be able to meet or join these groups. But again, hold on a minute. Uh, yes, that's one of my emergency bypass for the family. That the timing is impeccable, like always. And I kind of think I know what it's about. But anyway, you know what? I'll tell you what. That's gonna be my cue to end the show because you know what? There's nothing. And by the way, for anybody that's wanting to know what that is the theme from Johnny Quest, as you can tell. That was like my favorite show when I was a kid, the Johnny Quest. And it was not it was so politically incorrect. They were firing rifles and Race Bannon and Johnny Quest and Haji and the little dog Bandit, and they would run around and throw spears and fire a gun, and it was great. It was like James Bond for kids. It was great. Oh. And I'm not talking, they made a new version that stinks. The original, the best. The best was Johnny Quest. But anyway, guys, please sign up for my Substack newsletter at mppellicer.com. Go to miamighostchronicles.com. Remember, I have two other, no, three podcasts besides Stories of the Supernatural that I narrate or host. There's Nightshade Diary. There's Supernatural Storytime, which just got voted top 100 supernatural podcasts out there. I came in at 64. For those of you who think, well, that's a big deal, Marlene, believe it or not, there's a lot of podcast theme podcasts with a supernatural theme to them. A lot. Okay. I'm in the top 100. Yay! So yes, Nightshade Diary, supernaturalstorytime.com, stories of the supernatural.info, or got Miami Ghost Chronicles. Everything's on that website, and you'll find links to everything there. And I guess I'm on all the major podcast platforms as mppellicer.com, and I'm on all the major video platforms, and even the podcast shows. I'm on the video because I make a video version to be able to be on the video platform, even though it's a podcast. How's that? It's not, it's the same thing, where you put a static picture. That's the way that you can access. And again, I have, if you have some type of favorite podcast platform, I'm on there. I'm on Spotify, iHeartRadio, blah, 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 you name it. You can find me there on any of the shows, Erie.news, etc. And again, I have a lot as a matter of fact, that's it. I'm already bringing in guests for season 18, which is what runs from January to June of 2026. Everybody's already been booked in for the rest of this season of 17. Okay, so yeah, hang tight, guys. And maybe let's see, we'll find out what Tom was saying. 2027, is that going to be the year that we're going to get disclosure from somebody? The ETs, the government. Somebody's got to say, okay, enough waiting. Anyway, guys, I will see you soon. Thank you for being here. Till next time.